welcome back to the Creating Synergy podcast. My name is Daniel Franco, and today we have the great man, Al Jawhari, on the show. Welcome, Al.
Daniel, thank you so much. And yeah, pretty excited, slightly stressed.
You'll be right, mate.
Yeah.
You'll be right. We don't bite here. You're CEO, currently CEO of Starke-AMG, but you're credible. For me to list of everything that you've done, I don't think we've got the time in this podcast to do that. So Starke, can just give us a little bit of a background about Starke, just for those listening in. It'd be good for them to hear about what you are currently doing, and then we'll go into the history and life of where you've come from.
Awesome, fantastic. So Daniel Starke, so it's Starke, and of course in English, and it's got an umlaut on it, which is German. It's called Stärke.
Okay, there you go.
In German, which is strength.
Strength.
And we co-founded the group. It's got companies that's been operational, some of them for 45 years. The model that we tried to do, and we're currently extremely successful in it, is doing what we call advanced manufacturing services.
Yeah, nice.
So changing the manufacturing model, the capabilities, to deliver services, our end-to-end services.
Yeah, great.
And we're proud. We do 50% of our work in great projects in defense. We have 12 programs right now in defense in both Australia and the US. And we have around 90 fabulous team members across the business as well.
Beautiful.
We're an SME, and we believe, as all of Australia, we punch above our weight.
Yeah.
But we're in the area of high value, complex. We do stuff that no one else can do.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, we'll go into it more after.
Yeah.
It's a good background. I thought you'd give a better background of, how do you pronounce it?
Stärke?
Stärke.
Yeah.
And AMG, what's the...
Advanced manufacturing group.
Beautiful.
We get mistaken by AMG Mercs.
Yeah, that's what,
Which it's a good publicity anyway. Yes. And Starke Iron Man, which is, we might be there.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Okay.
Right. Now, I'd be keen to... Look, I know you, and I'm very interested in the people listening in to learn a little bit about you. So I want to start off with this question. So who is Al, and what's your purpose in life?
Wow.
No, heavy straight away.
Yeah. So I'm Al, and I love commercializing innovations and turning it into success, and not necessarily financial success, but it's success across everyone involved in it.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
So what do we need to know about your earliest context? Like, let's take a trip back to your childhood years. Where have you come from? I know you're not born here in Australia, so where have you come from, and who is Al, and what have you learned along the years?
So I was born in Cairo in Egypt, and I had a fantastic childhood. I think I was able. My dad was a businessman, and he did business in different areas. He did business in Europe before I was born, and my first exposure was no boundaries or countries, or it's about how great you can chase things and achieve them, and there's no limit to anything you can do. Seriously. I mean, that was my first exposure, I think, when I was a kid. I grew up in Liberia, in West Africa.
Yeah.
I think there was only like 4 expat families.
Yeah, wow.
We were one of them. And he had a business that was exporting to the US from over there. So it's a sort of...
What sort of business was it?
So at that time, he had mining rights for granite.
Yep.
And they extract it, they process it, and then export it, because West Africa, Liberia at that time it is one of the biggest exporter harbors in Africa.
Yeah.
Direct, because it's on the Atlantic Ocean as well.
Yeah, wow.
So we were
granite for like kitchen bench tops and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Or big like floors and
tiles and
so I grew up there, and I literally grew up in the jungle.
Yeah, wow.
Literally. I mean, our house was right in the middle of a jungle, and I was out there. So climbed trees, all the mistakes, jumped in waters. I had all the experiences as a kid, not knowing how dangerous things are, which when you look at it now, I wouldn't be, Yeah. So I think that was mainly the part that I remember.
Yeah, wow.
And on that childhood.
So tell us a little bit about your father and your mother, if you like. You said you were a businessman, and he was a businessman. It sounds like and based on conversations that you and I have had, that he did have a significant influence on you. What were some of those key lessons and philosophies that he passed on to you?
Looking back at that point, Daniel, it's interesting that. So first of all, he was from professional accounting background, so he wasn't an engineer.
Yeah.
My grandfather was, which is his dad. He was
Yeah.
a mechanical engineer in the 1920s,
Yeah.
and he taught me everything I know. I mean, to put it in a statement, I learned shooting. He taught me shooting. He taught me fishing, driving, everything, all the skills that I have when I was a kid. He was the person that introduced me to it because he was doing it. So he was lead by example. He never gave me things direct. He always enabled me to do things and watched in the back with no comment or no judgment. I think that's mainly when I look at it now, after being, over 50, I would say he was a true leader. I mean, because that's what we do in leadership. We enable our team to do best without judging or without interfering, so that they get better and they enable to do and achieve greatness on their own. So, and of course, he's got a few touch points on my professional career that was actually game changers. I mean, and it was just statements, not something that is full involvement.
Yeah. Like what?
When I did 4 majors in engineering, so I started with mechanical.
I can't even think about doing one, and you're
Man, look, I'm not a nerd by heart, but I am. I love doing things the best I can. I mean, like.
So what were the 4 majors?
So I started mechanical, and then I wanted to do aeronautical, so I did aeronautical, and then while I was doing that, it was software. We needed to do conceptual modeling and design, and it was that time. I'm talking about early 1990s.
Yeah.
And software was something that was rocket science. I mean, people needed to study software engineering. They needed to study to do, not like today, we can do an app in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I did another major in software.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I did post-grad aerospace. I just wanted to feel the link between flying and then going to space.
Yeah. So just 3 or 4 of the easier ones, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I was really good at them naturally. I mean, and so when I was between specialization and career and what I'm gonna do, I wanted to do, different things, and I didn't know which one to focus on. And it was one of the most confusing times of my life, because I was really good at software. I was really good at design, and we had a conversation, and he was like, "What's going on?" And he usually, again, he was touch point. He never interferes. I can disappear as a kid, which was that's not the age we grew in. It was like 1970s and 80s. Parents took it. I mean, like, everything was not. There was a lot of, not restrictions, but there was an old school of raising kids.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And I remember I can do anything. I went through the smoking era when I was a kid, when all of my mates were getting punished for smoking. I had my pack on my desk in my room when I was, 14 years old.
Yeah.
And he never said anything. The only thing he told me is, if you want to smoke, you can do it, but you have to earn the money to buy. I'm not funding your smoking. That was the comment. And it was just, I think that's one of the reasons I'm not a smoker. I mean, at that time, that our generation is.
That's all you knew, yeah.
That was the thing we do. And because there was no resistance, so I was like, I just went through it. It was like 3-4 weeks. I didn't like it. And that was, so anyway, so I asked him, he was asking me about it. And then I said, look, I don't know. And he said, look, he asked me questions, of course. So are you good at this? And I said, yeah, I'm really good at this, and I enjoy all of it. He said, just do everything. And I'm like, what? He said, you have all the energy and time in the world. Don't sleep. Do everything, and the universe will work its way. I remember the statement. Yeah. And I said, how? And he said, just trust me. The universe will work its way. And this is actually what happened. I did effort. I didn't 24/7. Was doing this and that. I had a few ventures in each one, and automatically another one was shut down. That one didn't work, and the part that was actually what I was really good at, that's the one that progressed by itself.
Yeah.
And you would be surprised, Daniel. I mean, I know there's a lot of statements from entrepreneurs and, oh, we had the vision. I had a vision that I want to do a great thing. I want to do the best I can.
Yeah.
That's the vision I had, and I chased it. But everything that was set up down the line, that if I can call created success, that was pure universe. I mean, I think it's just an energy, how it works. So again, I think that's one of the early advices that I had that I wouldn't have figured myself out. And I give that advice to my friends or people I meet, kids that I know. Just put all the energy. The only thing you can give is your energy and your positivity. And then, mate, the universe, I said, trust me, the universe works its way.
Yeah, it'll conspire to work with you,
Yeah.
I love that. I love what you said about your old man, about the no judgment. And it sounds like he just got out of your way, which was really exciting. Because sometimes as parents, we can be a little bit protective. And,
Yes, yeah.
And want to live out our regrets for our children in somewhat. But your father made a decision to pick up and leave Liberia, where you were.
No, we went. There was.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. I mean, you had to flee.
We had to flee. It was fun from my end, to be honest. So it was because we
How old were you at that point?
I think I was maybe 7 or 8. Yeah. But the fun part was. Because we had to go, so they evacuated women and children first. So we were on military cargo planes as women. So imagine a kid going from a ramp on a flight. So that was and then he followed on a ship, because that was it. We left everything behind. Yeah. I mean, everything. Banks, everything, whatever, and that was
literally left the house as it was and picked up and left.
Absolutely, and I'm not sure if it's ingrained in my DNA, but I haven't seen any sadness or regret to an extent that I thought I was a kid that you don't know materially, don't know what money it is, but when I grew up, it was his wealth that he created, and the only thing that he was caring about is that. My sister, my mom, of course, that we're safe. And then he was safe and life just kept going. There was no looking back at, we left all of that behind us. And I think, again, that was one of the early lessons that I actually don't care if anything happens that way, because you can create whatever you want as many times as you want. I mean, it's not being careless, but it's something that if it happens, there's always a good reason for things to happen down the line. Yeah. So
money can be re-earned.
Anything,
right? But your life is
but the important, the family and your kids, and I think that's mainly the wealth that we truly cherish. Yeah. So again, I think that was but so we went back and he picked up, I think, another venture that he already started, and we just kept going.
Very good. So you went back to Egypt?
We were back to Cairo, yes.
At what point did you decide to join the military?
So first, we traditionally, I mean, look, I'm not freaking you out, but we go, as my great-great-grandfather, he goes back 1,200 years. And we still have the house, the building. I mean, it's we gave it, as a family, we gave it to the tourism, to the Ministry of Tourism, because it's a site, that touristic site to be visited.
Yeah, wow.
And we always had, every second generation, great people in the serving. I mean, in either military or police or So my grandfather from my mom's side, he was an Air Force pilot, and he was a general. I mean, he was a great guy. And I learned, he was around till I was maybe year 8 or 9. So he had a huge influence on me from that military side. He was a straight shooter, and and I think that was the influence that I thought that from a service perspective, not from a career perspective, that it's something that I need to give back as part of that family. Yeah. So I think that was mainly the mindset that I had. And I'm not trying to be,
but you
patriot or a hero, but it's.
But you were part of the military for 18 years. My understanding is you went on to become lieutenant colonel. So, and received the first class medal of military duty, which is one of the highest honors in the Egyptian armed forces. Where did that come from, and what was it? Just based on time served, or
No,
was it?
so
What did you do to earn that medal?
actually, that was a surprise for me because I resigned. So I resigned 2 weeks before I became a colonel because I felt that I've done what I could, and I wasn't pulled back or anything, but I felt that's it. I need to, that stage has to. And usually to get that medal, you have to serve as the next level as well, which is equivalent to a 1-star general. And to resign as well, it doesn't. And because of what I did and the amount of work I did, I was given that from all the way up because it comes from the president and the head of the Air Force.
Yeah.
So it was an exemption to give someone that actually resigned and gave up all of his, to do that. So that was actually that is something I will cherish all my life.
Yeah. Wow. So is that where you did your study while you were there? How does the timeline work?
So I had a scholarship to study my 4 majors.
Yep.
And that was through the Air Force.
Yeah. Okay.
And then when I finished my studies in the US and all of that was sponsored.
Yeah. Okay.
And the other thing is the projects I worked on. I built, everything I learned, a lot of the things I've learned, I owe it that they allowed me to do that in that scale.
Yeah.
So I built one of the biggest manufacturing facilities in the world. It was actually the 3rd biggest in the world. That was my project. It was like 4 or 5 years. And I've learned a lot in that space of, turning manufacturing. On size and scale, it's like a $4 billion project. So,
wow.
And I was 24 years old or something. So, and so I cherish. I know my teammates. I can tell you their full names.
Yeah.
For maybe 600 people.
Yeah, wow.
I did my SEALs training as well, and it was fantastic. It's part of my DNA.
Yeah.
I would say I'm a military background person. They instilled a lot of things in me.
What was you know Sean Westcott, don't you?
Of course,
quite well. He was also in the
military. We clicked.
By
the way, the first day we met, I know
the way you both learn and the way your journeys are very similar in the way you absorb knowledge and the time that you served. And what was one of the key lessons that you learned from your time serving for the military, like from a leadership perspective?
So to be honest, again, so I was ranks first of all at studying. It was fully dedicated. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the biggest, I think, add-ons that I had in my life, because if I wasn't studying that way, so I was studying 11 months a year.
Yeah, wow.
Fully dedicated for 5 years.
Okay.
And I had 0 distractions.
Yeah, okay.
My job was to study and learn, and I think that gave me that edge of getting the deep knowledge of engineering practice and then when based on your academic achievements, you get ranks.
Yeah, okay.
And who gets the highest ranks lead others.
Yeah.
So when I was in year 5 at uni, I was responsible for 240 people, fully responsible for them. And I'm talking about year 1, year 2, and it's a mix, different specialties. Yeah. They have their exams, they have their studying, we have the training in the morning, and have to be dressed up properly, all of the military practice. And I was the head of that. And I think I was 19 years old.
Yeah, wow.
And that was the earliest exposure from a leadership, and I would take a bullet for them, and make sure that what I do, and that I think taught me that it's not by being that nice is true leadership. It's by actually getting your whoever you're leading to be great, so that they achieve what they need to achieve. And I think that's mainly how I was structured.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when I went and I started leading units and I'm talking about technical and engineering way. It was just built up. And of course, I learned from my leaders. I mean, because you have good leaders and bad leaders. And in life in general, it's not, you don't catch it up that much. Yeah. But in the military, a good leader from a bad leader.
Yeah. Or in life,
business, in business. I know, but I mean, it's the impact is huge.
It's great. Yeah, lives in your hands, really.
So I think leadership, and the other thing is, if I can share with that, people think military is about orders. It's not, and that's why it's the most successful system in the world. We plan. So we plan for 1, 3, 5, 7, 10 years ahead. Yeah. Strategy. And that's core. I mean, that's great businesses do that. Everyone puts his thoughts in it. And we break it down. We simulate as if it's happening. So it's real strategic planning. And when we decide this is what we're going to do, that's when the military kicks in. We don't change it. We just keep going. Yeah. Whatever happens. And that's how I believe, that's how strategy, because if you spend all that time, I'm not saying not to be agile or, modify or fine tune.
Fluid, yeah.
But if you spend a year with the top heads in the business planning for a strategy, how on earth are you going to come up with something better in 5 minutes?
Yeah, very true.
And if that leads to another lesson that I've learned in business, confusion trickles from top to bottom, not the opposite. So leaders are the ones responsible for confusion in business. And wherever the business is focused, it is the leadership role to make sure that everyone is focused on what we believe is the strategy or what our directions are. Yeah. So I think that's, beside, of course, waking up 5 o'clock in the morning and exercising and doing it every single day for 18 or 22 years of your life, it's something that it's a privilege for me but I wasn't it was trained to do that. So I'm still a very early riser and impacted. It was extremely positive impact on the business as well, because I can chip in 4 hours in the morning, pure focus, which, what an hour means in business,
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. I haven't heard anyone quite put it like that before, where confusion trickles from the top. There's a saying that we use quite often, which is clear is kind, right?
Yeah.
Providing clarity is actually a kind way of working and living. In the fact that if you're withholding information or you're creating confusion or you're not quite making up your mind in time, then what that does, the impact and ripple effect that can have on everyone else is so I like the way you put that. Now I want to sort of move into the entrepreneur world, but before I do, as you might know, we do our research here on Creating Synergy podcast, and so I put my feelers out there to a few people that might know you, and one person in particular, and she I think I just gave it away. She told me not to disclose who she is.
Hopefully,
but she said to me, she goes, "Look, the one thing that I think you should quiz him on is tell that you can never tell Al that something is impossible to do."
I know. Do you know Angie?
I'm not confirming that it was Angie.
Okay. No, man.
No, I remember you said to me that my wife was Dean of Flinders University, and so I looked up the Dean of Flinders University. I saw her actually connected on LinkedIn, and so I flicked her a text last night saying,
"Wow, okay."
And she replied, but she told me not to say anything to you. So if she's listening in, I didn't say it. You forget it.
It's on record. Wow. Look, what happens. I mean, look, literally, she's been on hopefully it was a great journey, but it's a bit of with me. I believe anyone can achieve anything. I still remember it's all about mentally, how you can mentally overcome adversaries and how you can go through that. And you would be surprised the limit that you can push yourself. When and I'm talking about not about the extreme side. Yeah. But I think when this happened to me, in a good way, I felt literally it's all about how your mind works. And she freaks out when we have discussions with people and someone would say, oh, that's impossible. And automatically I switch on.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, please, no.
Why did you say that?
Because I actually proved the opposite. And I now enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
Because it's all about, seriously, mate, as a statement, it's all about, you have to believe in yourself and your capabilities, and anyone can do anything. No one is better than anyone. It's all about the energy and the resilience.
Yeah.
And then, as you know, you always hit a peak, and that's automatically when things becomes better.
Yeah.
So it's just getting yourself to that. So that's why I take it, I casually talk about it, but I think she freaks out because, your partner or your wife or, the ones that with you on the journey have a bird's eye view.
Yeah.
Which you don't see, only see what you're doing.
I love that.
Yeah. So I think if she was the one that tip, but I think hopefully I didn't. Yeah, it was a fun ride on doing that.
I love that because this morning I was actually driving to school, taking my daughters to school this morning, and we were talking about one of my youngest asked me a question about, actually it was about racism, and then what she asked me the question like, why are people racist, right? And I was like, shit, that's a big question at 7 o'clock in the morning.
How old is she?
She's 10 years old.
Man, that's awesome.
And then anyway, so we got talking about that, and then we moved into different businesses, and she was asking me about business ideas and all this other stuff, and then we got talking about Elon Musk. And my oldest daughter said, oh, Elon's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, he's crazy, but he's changing the world, right? And I don't condone the way he does business or anything like that, but and I said to him, look up the quote from Steve Jobs.
People that are crazy.
Yeah, it's the ones who, those who are crazy enough that believe that they can change the world are usually the ones that do. And so when you say things like the power of thought, if you think you can do something, your body and your mind is essential. I honestly believe that because I said to my girls this morning, if you don't believe that you can change the world, then you're not going to change the world. Like, it's just that simple. It's the actual belief.
Yes.
That is the thing that carries you through.
Absolutely.
So, I liked that your analogy and your thought process through there. Now, it was Angie, so you've already worked that out. So, but she said to me another thing. She goes, one other thing that I think you should ask him about is that he loves his extreme sports.
I think her complaint would be the cost of my sport. That'd be her.
So she said to me, she goes, look, he learns a new one every 2 years, and he's been doing this for the past 20 years. So what are these extreme sports that you've been?
So again, aligned with business, I just like to put myself on check.
Yeah.
I mean, to make sure that I still believe in my capabilities, even on whatever I try to do successfully or not. But so sports is one of the purest form of discipline because it's all about performance, as you know, and I learn.
I believe that to the core, actually. Yeah.
I know you're an athlete, and you'll always be an athlete.
If you look at me now, there would be a few people who would argue that. So
no, seriously. So I learn a new sport every maybe a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of
like what?
So I've jumped planes.
Yeah.
I have maybe 500 dives. And
I am petrified of that.
It's by the way, every time I do it, I'm petrified.
Yeah, no, I stay. With tandem, there's a weight limit that you can.
Yeah.
So
I don't like tandems.
No, but there's a weight limit. Yeah. Your first jump, you've got to do tandem, don't you?
No, I know. I mean the ones that is a form of sport now.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I remember there was a group of people that were going to buy me a tandem skydive, but then they couldn't because I was at a certain weight, and I use that as my excuse now. I just stay at this weight, so I never have to do tandem skydive.
It's fantastic.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no.
I don't believe you.
No.
So what else outside of jumping out of planes? What else?
So I've done that for a while. I'm a technical diver as well.
Yeah.
I became a dive master, and again, I think that's where Angie is like, because what happens, it starts as a hobby.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, I have to take things to the limit. So I was a scuba dive master, but the limit was, I think, that time 35 meters.
Yeah.
and I loved Rex. I mean, I wanted to. That was one of my. So I then did technical diving training, and then and now I do 75 up to down to 75 meters, which is fantastic.
What does it feel like 75 meters below?
First of all, the narcos, the nitrogen narcosis is addictive.
Yeah.
Because it's like drugs.
Oh, really?
I haven't, to be honest, I've done a lot of things. I haven't done drugs, but it's that feeling. Like you feel high, Yeah. Everything is blue, because you lose all the colors. With the spectrum, every 10 meters you lose one color. Yeah, okay. And then you end up with just blue. Yeah. The only way to see true colors is by flashlight. That gives you the true colors. Yeah. But the 75, there's great wrecks. There's great wrecks at different depth, but the ones closer to the surface, of course, you get a lot of divers and people that can go. Yeah. So it's not usually in its best condition. Yeah, okay. The deeper you go, no one can go down that. So I think that was my thing about,
This is the road less traveled, right? Like,
yeah, I know. I mean, so I think diving, that was brilliant. I met the other thing is I meet great people doing those sports. So I'm very lucky with a huge group of friends that I can call friends in different of those disciplines. Currently, I'm learning windsurfing. Yeah. And again, that was a discussion we had. I was talking about windsurfing and someone said, man, it's all about balance. If you don't learn it when you're a kid, it's extremely beyond difficult. Impossible. And I'm like, man, don't say that. I don't want to do it. So I've been a year now and I'm pretty enjoying it right now. Good. I mean, we do it. We're very lucky with all of, the stuff we can do. And I've done, I've done CrossFit when it was not allowed to be.
Gabs is a big CrossFit.
So I'm on level 2 coach in the CrossFit. Yeah. I did CrossFit when you were not allowed to train unless you're certified because people thought that CrossFit kills people, if you can believe that, because of how aggressive we. And I've done 700 burpees. I've done.
For anyone that doesn't know what a burpee is, it is standing up, dropping down into a push-up position, and then pushing yourself up into a jump. 700 times in a row.
So I did that in 2 hours.
Yeah, oh my God.
And it was.
So I empower anyone listening in right now. Try to do 10.
I know. I mean, of course not today. I did it. I think that was 10 years ago. But I did 2 laps on the track, 800 meters of frog hops, which is one of the worst tortures. I mean, I've done marathons as well. I've done a run.
So do you like putting yourself in painful situations?
I love it in a good way.
With study, with it seems like you've got this thrive to do what is difficult, though, isn't it? Like that is essentially what it is.
It's not difficult if you do it. You know that.
No, but when you start off, it is.
But that's the mind thing. Correct. That's why I'm saying that's exactly the point I'm saying about anyone can do anything. You just have to shut down.
And be persistent. It's persistence, isn't it?
I believe that each one of us are coded with 2 different programs running at the same time. Yeah. One of them is the moving forward, achievement, greatness. The other one is saying, no, you can't do that. And it's continuously running at the same time.
It's fight and flight, isn't it? Really?
Absolutely. And what you have to empower and shut down and put the noise down on the other one. And once you do that, automatically it comes back, but in a different stage. So I think that's mainly, and I believe in it, mate, 100%.
How do you do that? Is that something you've taught yourself to do? Like you've trained your brain to say, no, I'm not going to. Like you recognize the negative self-talk, you recognize the discomfort, and you just keep pushing anyway? Because that is a skill set. This is not something that anyone can just go, right, I'm going to change my mindset and tomorrow it's changed. It doesn't work that way. It's something you build like a muscle.
I think I think you can do it, but I think you have to train yourself to do it. Yeah. And then you level up, and then automatically your self-confidence in your capabilities becomes better.
100%.
And then you start pushing, next time I'm going to do something more difficult.
Yeah, I think that goes with anything, whether it's sport, whether it's being a parent, a father, or a mother. It's business. It's all the same. The more and more you keep doing something, the more accustomed to and you level up. Yeah. I used to play a lot of computer games growing up. I know this.
No,
It's
it's brilliant. Yeah.
But and I kind of look at life a little bit like a game in the sense that you talked about being coded. I believe it absolutely that there is a code, and then it is very much about passing to the next level and taking. These are the stages of your life as you go through it. You learn the basics, and then all of a sudden it gets more and more harder until you get to the end of the game. I think
I 100% agree on what you're saying, and that's why it is that mental. Look, I've done SEALs training, equivalent to SEALs training, and it's all about your mind. It's all about that, because if I tell you, if someone knows what's going to happen, that you're not going to sleep and eat for a full week until someone gives up. And it's not just that. You're not going to be sitting on the beach doing that. It's actually brutal exercise nonstop. No way on earth you would think, no, that's not going to happen. I'm serious. But once you get into it, and automatically you get from one stage to the other, you go up and then you go down, you go up and then you go down, and then you want to give up, but you're not going to give up. And you go through all these minds, and then you finish up. And the only thing you remember is how great it feels when you've been through it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so that adrenaline rush, I think once you get it, you automatically start saying, you know what? Actually, this is something that's very cool.
Yeah.
Same like I was a short distance runner. Yeah. I did 100 and 200 meters competitively. I was on national and international level. Yeah. And then I wanted to do decathlon. I wanted to do 5, and it was very cool because we do horseback riding in the US, but it's, horse riding and shooting, and then you run and then you shoot, you run and you shoot. It's very cool. Yeah. And my coach at that time, when I did, he looked at me because I had big muscles because of short distance. Yeah. I said, no, that's never going to happen. He's a short distance runner. He can't run long distance. And that was it. Yeah. And my best event was the long run. That I was the highest score because that was the part that I thought, actually, what he's saying is right. Yeah. But this is the thing, that's the weakness that I need to overcome.
So there's definitely a pattern here in your life, isn't there? So I bet you can't run my business and turn it into $100 million. I bet you can't do it.
I know. All right. I know that you are the one that will do that. I'm positive about it. And
I thought I'd give it a try.
And once you hit that number, you buy me a coffee.
Now, we're like 50 minutes in and we haven't even started talking about your entrepreneurial journey yet. So I would love to start there. You are, obviously super amazing, everything that you've achieved in all aspects. But the one thing that I remember you saying that you were 16 years old.
15.
15 years old. And
I said 16 because it was driving.
Yes. Yeah, so 15 years old and you fell into a business that was selling cars. Yeah. Let's start there and let's work our way through your entrepreneurial journey now.
My best friend, he's still I'm fortunate to have great best friends, but the one you grow up with is usually it's you. You were the same. He moved to the US, I think, when we were maybe grade 4 or 5. So I grew up in the US. I spent summers and schools over there, and and when at 15, I didn't want to be. I didn't want to take money from my parents, not because they were well off and everything, but I just felt I shouldn't. I'm sort of, I want to do stuff, I want to do it myself. And so we looked for work. We were cutting loan, and we had a great cutting loan business. We do it on the weekends, and we even bought some fancy equipment because we started with like 5 in the neighborhood, and then we ended up doing 30. Yeah. So one of them was a dealership that they buy European cars from Chicago, from a spot called Lake Forest, where they had all these Mercs and Beamers and, very cool cars. And my job was to fly to Lake Forest and drive the car back for 500 miles.
At 15 years old?
At 15 years old. And I got paid $150 US dollars and plus expenses. Yeah, well. But it wasn't, I would pay it because I was driving. One time I had a Lamborghini, a 928 S4, wow. And that was 60. I was 16 years old.
And so, but don't they want these things brand new, not 500?
No, they're not. So they're used. They're used European cars, and And sometimes we come back, of course, we would say, not our mistake, but the dealership is closed. The car dealership is closed, so I get the car for the weekend. and our, the mates we knew at school thought we were drug dealers, both of us, because we usually had these crazy cars. But again, that was the best. I mean, I think the model that you can do crazy stuff and make money out of it, and take it, and do the stuff you want to do at an early age. I think that exposure is the best exposure you can do for anyone, because you learn that actually it's not that difficult to make decent, but it's all about,
Yeah. So how did you end up selling them yourself?
Sorry?
How did you end up selling them yourself? Like, how did
I had enough money. Yeah. And then we asked permission from our college dealer if we can actually trade. Yeah. Because the other dealer that they were buying cars from, that's a sort of a B2B model. Yep. He doesn't sell direct.
Yeah, okay, yep.
So it was sort of an ethical part that that I have to ask his permission. He was okay with it. So I had enough money to buy my first. I think my first was with a Merc. It was a 280 diesel, and it was in mint condition, mate. It was blue interior leather, and you can smell the leather. Yeah. And I sold it 2 days after I bought it, with a couple that was, I think, in their 50s or something, and I made $2,500 profit. Yeah, wow. And then that was it, mate. Yeah. I was on the roll. I mean, it just kept going. So yeah, we had a great role in it. So
that's brilliant. Yeah, I love it. So what happens here? You're studying. I understand there was a couple of businesses early on. Yeah. In fact, let's start with a question: how many businesses have you actually run in your life to date, and started and built and exited?
So I had five successful exits on my belt, and I did 6 businesses.
6 businesses.
So not mentioning the current venture we're currently doing.
So 5 successful exits and 1, because 1 didn't go so well, did it?
Yeah, the one.
So we'll get into that, but let's talk about the first couple, because you were. How old were you when you started those?
So my first exit, which I didn't know it was called an exit. Yeah, I wish I did.
Yeah, you would. Yeah,
I was actually at year 5 at uni.
Yeah, okay.
That was my last year, and I had a conceptual design modeling project that I needed to do, and to use the tools at that time, where I'm not going to go into technical terms, but software was still early stage. So I had to build the libraries myself. I mean, I had to do it, and it was natural. So I came out, and then my professor, he was one of the consultants at NASA as well. Yep. And then he said, I haven't seen anything like that at that scale. And he connected me to an entity that was part of, one of the big entities. Yep. And they bought my code.
Brilliant. Just like that.
And paid a 7-figure.
7-figure sum.
Yeah. I was 22 years old.
That's amazing.
And and I was
so what did this code do?
So it was libraries. It did conceptual design modeling for airframe structures. Yeah, okay. And I think it was, and I did it with C++ at that time. Yeah. And it was, I had 2 million lines of code in it. Yeah, wow. Which I did in 6 months. Yeah, wow. Which is crazy. I mean, I would look at it now. I can't even write 2 million lines, even if I'm saying the same word. It's just,
You get ChatGPT to do that now.
I know. He's I know.
If you look back, this is your dad's advice. You got the energy. You're young, 24 hours in a day. Yeah. So what happens from there? So you sell that, and then now you're a rich person, still at uni, still in the.
I bought silly stuff, of course, as you know. I mean, at that age,
you went and bought your own Lamborghini.
I bought my car, and I bought all the crazy stuff that I wanted. CDs, and anyway, new releases. That was a big thing at that time, as you know. And then I was paid to maintain the code. Okay. And
so the gift that just kept on giving.
Yeah, but it was good. I mean, it was good paid, but I was doing a lot of stuff at that time in that level. Yeah. And then I needed to test the code, and I had to, at that time, you don't have computational power. So I had to book time on the server, which is at that time was a Sun System server, which is, you're too young for that. Yeah. But that was like the computational power that you get. Yeah. Anyway, to cut long story short, so I studied network programming. which is kernels.
Yeah.
So, we got operating systems. It's run by something called the kernel. And I modified kernels on Unix platforms so I can do my own computational power. And then I ended up modifying it, and I was able to farm around, I think I bought maybe 500 PCs that I put together, and I modified the kernel to be able to run the code. And that was the reason I did it. I mean, and then I started getting the code quicker. And then, my other side was like, I said, no, I already did the testing. And he said, how did he do it? I said, I did it on my servers. And cut long story short, he flew and he came into this garage, which had 500 computers with no casing because of the aircon couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
And I used to spray water in front of the aircon just to get the temperature down.
Yeah, wow.
And they were like, what is it? And I showed them the stuff, and they're like, we want to buy that. And that was my second exit.
Yeah.
But I got smarter.
Another 7 figures at that point?
Yeah, but I got smarter.
He says yes as if it's just like a thing.
I got smarter at that, and I had a few friends, which again that leads me to mentoring in business. You would get a statement from someone, one statement that would change 4 or 5 figures to your value in one statement. Yeah. Seriously. And he said, don't give them exclusivity. That was the statement.
Yeah.
And I started looking what exclusivity is. And I did. I said, you know what? Yes, I'll sell it that way, but I'm just going to give you that on the conceptual modeling that you're doing.
Yeah.
And that was actually my entry point to my next venture, because I used that to do crazy stuff with it.
Yeah. So what was the next venture then?
I started an industry specific. I did an industry, because of my size, I mean, not my size, but my business size, I always thought myself as nimble. And with it, 7 or what, I've never thought, I always knew that, all of the stages, you're a startup or a scale up. I understood that, I think, and I wanted to do the stuff where I'm successful but having fun as well. I'm not saying that running corporates with 5,000 people is not fun. I'm not saying that, but that's what, that's me.
You're in this world.
That's what I like.
You're a creator.
Yeah, that's what I like to do.
Correct.
So I did an industry specific software that was, it was an ERP system at that time, but it was so industry specific that the implementation time and the utilization rate was ahead of anyone else from the big guys. And that was so aggressive. I had maybe 60% of the corporate market share in less than 18 months.
Yeah, wow.
It was like fire.
So where does this idea come from?
A friend that had a chain of restaurants.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he passed away. He's not around anymore. And he was extremely progressive, and he was using state-of-the-art ERPs and software, and it didn't solve his problems. It had delays and it had all of that. And he knew about what I was doing, and he said, can you use this stuff that you're doing on the performance side to help us in the industry? Because the industry is lagging because we do a lot of transactions. I'm talking about thousands, and our computers doesn't keep up. And we always have, crashes, and it costs us a lot of money. And that was the entry point. So I was like, I want to solve one. So I started with the operations, the processing from the back end to the front end. Yep. And then it came out, it was outstanding. And all of the big guys started, buying it. And then I started expanding it. And then I ended up doing the CRMs as well, because they had call centers getting the orders. And our systems was unbeatable because of the performance. And no one knew that at that time. That was my secret sauce. Yeah. Because the front end is the same, but it's all about the computational power that allows you to do thousands of transactions a minute, and it doesn't fail. Like, the blue screen of death at that time and all of the... So I think that was the...
And so how did that... What did that grow to?
So we grow in a huge... We had the major market share, and then I exited.
How many people did you grow that to?
At its peak, I had 600 people.
600 people.
Yeah.
At its peak. How long into it did you exit it?
That took me from start to finish, it was 2 rounds, but it took an average around 5 years.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So you sought investment for that? Did you do that off your
No,
own?
I did it off my own. The money that was remaining from my failure, not from my success.
How old were you at this point?
So that was started that 2001.
2001.
Yeah.
So how old were you at that point?
So yeah, I'm 90. I'm 1972.
Yeah,
so I
okay.
was what? Yeah, 30, 29,
29.
29, 30. Yeah.
So you're 600 people, and you're leading a business at 600 people at 29 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does that look like? Were you ready for this? Like, were you the leader that you are now?
No.
Back then.
No. I wouldn't work with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you look like back then?
That one wasn't that bad, but the one before, I'm sorry to go back because I just want to, it's staging.
Yeah.
So when I did my second exit, I was untouchable, literally, internally, not externally.
Yeah.
And I believed I know everything because I was like, anyone that discusses anything with me, including my dad, I look at them as like, I'm the one who did it, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we discussing?
So your ego was getting...
It was beyond. I'm not sure. I sometimes feel it was a different person, looking at but I think that's humans. And I believe, again, that's what not scares me, but that's what I really try to tell people about it is we're extremely vulnerable as humans. We're emotional. We get driven and there's some things in life that we have to take care of because if we get through that line, sometimes you might not go back again. We're extremely vulnerable. I mean, you can change in a second. Yeah. We're all chemical. It's a chemical. Yeah. So anyway, cut long story short, we just went through then I did the next one and it wasn't a business. It was a sort of, I was like an R&D and I came up with these crazy stuff. I wanted a big head office with a huge...
So can we just go back? So you sold the 600-person business, ERP, CRM.
Yeah, that was before.
That was before.
The one I'm talking about was before that.
Yeah,
the failure.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, the failure was before
That's the one I was saying.
Okay.
So that was between, and I had this fancy building and huge office, and at that time, meeting rooms was a big thing. I had a meeting room, I think, that would take like 25, 30 people in it.
So you just got this big office that had no one in it.
And it just overheads. I had a lot of people in it, and it was. I don't even remember what was the structure. What was it about? It was just like spending money, and then it was a complete failure. And I was so devastated that I ran away. I went to a resort off grid.
So what was the business?
It was an R&D, technologies R&D stuff that I thought.
And what, you were trying to get money from government or something like that?
No. It was companies, and I had a lot of contracts, but there was a lot of moving parts that I didn't understand. I thought it was me. Yeah. I was just going to solve the problem because I solved 2 problems before. So I'm like, I can do anything. Yeah. Anyway,
so it wasn't like Enron type. You created something that
I wish I know, but it was
really exist.
Yeah. It was the business model was free. I mean, it was just me. Yeah. And then anyway.
And so what did you learn? Like, so you ran away.
Yeah.
What happened?
My dad called me, and at that time.
So you legitimately ran away. Like, you just got up.
Oh yeah. I just
left how many people behind?
Maybe 40, 50.
And what were they thinking? Like,
you see those are the questions that usually you ask, but at that time, that's the learning curve, you know. You just feel that you failed and you're not ready to fail because I think I was a success before, and all of that mental that I'm preaching and you have to go through it, automatically everything shuts down. And you find that you can't solve the problem. It's bigger than you, and the only way to do it is just disappear.
And so did you go into debt?
I thought I was in debt. And that's when, so he called me and he said.
So your dad called
you. And he said, I need you back home early morning tomorrow. And he never gives me orders. So usually when this happened for me
you're in trouble.
Was a sort of, he never did that. So I came back and he just said, look, there's no problem that couldn't be solved. And he turned from a leadership mentor dad into an execution person, which meaning that, we'll go to the office in the morning. He got all the accountants in, looked at all the numbers, And I was actually ahead. I wasn't in debt.
So why did you run away?
I wasn't able to run. I didn't know what to do, and I did something wrong, completely wrong. I didn't have the elements. I wasn't listening, and I thought I know all of these. So anyway, and
so the overwhelm got to you.
Yeah, and then everything was back, and he insisted that I meet all of the people that I thought I had debt with, companies and everything, face to face. You're not going to send an accountant or to pay or to do you're going to do it face to face. You're going to apologize, and you're going to tell them, I'm sorry, it's my mistake. I did wrong, and I hope you forgive me. And you pay your deeds, and you make sure that they're happy with the outcome. And
so what was the mistake? What were you apologizing for?
I think it was, that I delayed payments or with suppliers, or I didn't commit and deliver my contracts and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was So I went through it, and I came back. I never did this again in my life, mate. That was it.
You committed to being a leader.
My first thing is delivery. Anything you promise, not even in a contract, I would die not to deliver, literally.
So then, and sold that for
yes, partially. We had I had a few exits in it.
Yeah.
In different areas.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did all of this? When did all this turn? And when did you decide to move to Australia? Like what's the timeline of events here where you?
So I had a friend of mine. He's an entrepreneur as well, and we went to school together. We're very close friends, and we were playing around with e-commerce in 2008. Literally playing around. Literally, I mean, with everything you can imagine.
Yeah.
It was a joke. It was just we were just a couple of nerds running ideas. Cut long story short, we did something with Google Analytics at that time, which was very early stage, and we got acknowledged by Google, and our e-commerce went like overnight. That's the power of e-commerce.
Yeah.
And I had a great exit on it.
Yeah. So what were you selling?
No, that was like Amazon, but on a regional scale.
Okay.
And
so it was more about the code than what.
It was about the technology.
Yeah.
And innovations. And then I think that was and then we had a turbulence.
So that's your fourth exit.
That's my third exit. The first two were one for me because it was the same thing but in two cycles. I look at exits as something that I did different, Okay. Innovations, but in different dynamics.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we went through a bit of a turbulence. At that time, I was between different, doing business in different areas in the world and meeting people and investing in startups and scale-ups. And I started to get more in the fun of it and the excitement of, doing.
Are you in Australia at this point?
No, I wasn't.
So you've got married and had kids?
Yes.
So you got married, had kids early.
Yeah,
And still playing around.
Yep, and traveling and doing business. And I think at that time the scariest part that happened, and again, to be honest, Daniel, I forgot that point. I started getting in my comfort zone. I had my routine. I had everything, everything I need, and I was doing this and doing that. And I'm not sure, but I think my dad was the. We'll get to that one later, but. And then we had a bit of turbulence. We had turbulence in Egypt, which they called the Arab Spring, across the world, across the Middle East and North Africa and all of that. And we went through a couple of years that was a really bumpy road internally in business. I mean, there was no business. Everything was shut down. And, we had this and we had bad people in power and things came back to normal. And I think, and at that time, I just had my exit and I thought I need to take some time off with the kids. Spend more time with the kids, and and we usually go on holidays every now and then, but I thought, what, I just need to go for maybe a couple of months, and we were planning to go to the US, which we had business over there, but met a friend of mine, had same kids, same age, same age like my kids, and he just came back from Australia, and at that time for Australia for me it was like a month travel or something. I mean, it was. Like everyone else, it's so far. And, But I knew it was cool. I mean, every Australian person I met was a cool dude, and laid back and funny. And so I had that, implicit, that this is something cool, you know.
Yeah.
And anyway, I came back and he said they went to Australia and the kids had a great time. So I remember that. I was going out to the car park, called my wife, called Angie, and I said, hey, what about Australia? You know, and we came to Australia. We did, you know, we went through everything. So Angie, she's got 2 doctorates. She's a doctor, like a medical clinical pathologist, and then she has a doctorate in business, and she's doing her 3rd doctorate now. And I mean, the level of research, and not because she's my wife. I mean, she impresses me outside of that. But so she had an itinerary in an Excel sheet, Daniel, torture. We had like 280 line items in it. I'm serious. And it starts 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, wow. So anyway, so we came to Australia. We did.
You did your Excel sheet.
And I ended up in Glenelg on the beach on our itinerary. And it was one of the most beautiful cities I've seen in my life. And when you never heard about it before, it makes it more beautiful. It's like a gem that no one knows. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was my first impacted decision that I was like, actually, I wanna spend more time here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was it. That was the trigger.
Do you still believe that now?
100%. Yeah. I'll show you, mate, when we finish. I have a tweet that I did 2013 when I was on holidays here. And I wrote down, Adelaide is going to be the innovation. It should be leading the world in innovation commercialization. Yeah. Seriously, 2013, when everyone was leaving Adelaide. I mean, it was because it has all the elements for an outstanding ecosystem of innovations.
You're not the first person that's been on this podcast that said that. Even from an educator, like we had Martin Westwell, the CEO of Department of Education, recently. You know, Cambridge and Oxford University educated and come from the UK all the way here and said Adelaide is a Goldilocks zone. It is the perfect size and state to try more things than other, because we've just got the perfect population size.
Absolutely,
and
great universities. The best engineers. Look, I'm not undermining any. To be honest, not because I'm a proud Australian and you know this is it. But one of the best engineers I've worked with, and I worked with a lot, was actually Australians. The quality of their artifacts and the outcomes is outstanding. And we do a lot with a few, and that's one of the things that's very rare. Because we learn to punch above our weight. So anyway, so I think that was the entry point, and I didn't think that I'm gonna move. I mean, like as an expat or as a business guy or whatever, I thought it was sort of it's gonna be a year, and then which will lead us to the 2 other exits I did in Australia successfully. That was so natural, very short timeline, and I did great. I mean, I got inspired again, and it's home now. I mean, it's literally, I don't think about, I feel I've been here forever. I mean, I don't feel any sort of, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's where I came from, but this is where I am. That's where my kids and hopefully my grandkids and, will have a fantastic life moving forward.
Are you disheartened that South Australia isn't the innovation state that you thought it would be?
It will.
You still think that?
I believe in I worked a lot on the ecosystems to help. I mean, I have investments across the world, and I participate. I'm part of one of the biggest angel investor networks in the world. It's called Seed Forum. I'm the managing partner for Asia Pacific. Yeah, great. And so we talk about ecosystems. And the fun part is, I had those discussions before I came to Adelaide. And if we drew it on a box, on a white paper, it will come as Adelaide. I mean, if you sit with someone that thinks about how you can empower entrepreneurship and ask him, can you give me the ideal city to do innovations? We would draw Adelaide without the beauty of the hills. Yeah. Straightforward. You would put it, in a box, put universities on the outskirts, you put the financial institutes in the middle, the government in the middle, so you can talk and walk and do decisions, you know what I'm saying? And then you would have a beach for the quality of life for entrepreneurs and talent, and then top of that, you have the hills, you have the wineries, and it's 20 minutes drive, man, come on, it's just, it's
perfect.
It's perfect. It is perfect.
So why aren't we moving at the pace in which we need to?
I think it's maturity. I believe I believe in maturity maturity ahead of capability. You can have capability, but you have to be mature to be able to perform with that capability. I think I'm not being, but I think that's my understanding of it. But the good thing is once you hit a critical mass, it goes exponentially. And I believe that's what's going to happen in Adelaide. I believe we're that close to hit our critical mass. I believe we need to know it's the model of business. We need to know what we're really good at and focus on doing it.
Do you think we're a little bit bipolar at the moment in the fact we're concentrating on so many different things?
Yeah. But again, it's like a funnel, maybe, not to be judgmental.
Yeah.
When you're doing a business, sometimes you open a funnel to know, can I do this? Can I do that? Then you find, man, I do this. I'm really good at it. And I actually make really good success out of it.
Yeah.
So you focus on.
So when you talk about innovation state, do you talk about, defense is something that's not going away. Right?
Yeah.
Where do you talk about innovation within defense, or do you talk about an industry specific? What do you talk when you say innovation? What's your definition of that?
So it's agnostic to the vertical.
Okay.
But defense is a big part of it, because now, we're my defense hat again. We push things to the limit. So we do things that are actually impossible.
At your current business?
I'm talking about defense in general.
Okay.
And so you operate as best in class to be able to deliver defense systems, which makes your commercial outcomes extremely, extremely aggressive. And the biggest example, as you know, is the US.
Yep.
The industrial base that's based on defense is the one you have all these spin-offs coming out of it.
Oh, most innovative.
It's crazy. And then universities and the research part. And so, yes, I would say defense is 100%. It's one of the pillars of getting us on the innovation side, ahead of the curve and ahead of, and we have an outstanding, unprecedented opportunity to do that.
What are the other pillars?
Education, which is something that needs to be worked on. Unfortunately, we're falling back on the innovation and the competitiveness indices.
Education from a university level, or
from all levels.
All levels.
Because you can't change things after it happened already.
Yeah. I'm excited about what Martin's doing at the Department of Education.
Yes, me too.
Have you met Martin?
I haven't met him, but I've been witnessing the initiatives and the changes, and not look, as you know, we work with both parties really good. Everyone wants the best in his way, the way he's doing. So no judgment here, but I feel that Peter Miles is on a mission, and he understands the issues related to. He actually was one of the first politicians that I've ever heard him talking about innovation indices, and which is the thing I look at every single day.
Yeah.
So again, I think once you identify an issue, it means that you're working on it. But education, research centers, it's very critical, because I believe most of the stuff we do in innovations has to be novel, and novelty comes from researchers.
So that ties in with the defense, right?
Yeah.
So if you have innovation and research together, like defense and research together, I should say, combining is where the innovation comes from, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes.
Is there any other pillars?
Quality of life.
Yeah.
To attract, because talented people, I believe, if they witness quality of life, they wake up in the morning, not get through traffic jams, and all of this influences the innovation side of your, I'm not saying that there's no great innovations happening elsewhere, but I'm just saying that's for us in Adelaide. That's what we can use and enable as a pillar to punch above our weight.
Yeah. For those listening in right now, you said your purpose in life is to find commercial ideas, to find great innovative ideas and to commercialize them.
Yeah.
You love that.
I love it, mate. Yeah, I love it.
What do you look for? What's your secret sauce when identifying those ideas that we can run with, right? As in, how do you identify the opportunities? You see it now more often than not because you've just been around the block a few times. You've got the experience. You can spot a good thing when, from a mile away. But for those who are learning about innovation within their own and scaling them to the global scale, I mean, you also said that business has no boundaries or no borders.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with this question is there's a lot of talk about innovation, but no one really knows how to do it.
Yeah.
And it's not just about a widget, but it's about a way of thinking.
Yeah.
And so what would your advice be to those who are trying to turn those innovative ideas into actual tangible business solutions?
I think the first one would be what you actually want in general in life. I would say that would be the first one. And then once you do
so
that,
it's working to your purpose, so to speak.
What's the purpose?
Yep.
And of course, I'm not going to go through what problem are you solving and all of that, but I would say, what's the difference that you bring to the table? The real difference that people are willing to pay for in any form. A good cup of coffee or innovative. And innovations is not limited to inventions. Innovation, you can innovate in business modeling. You can do things different. You're on top of that. Or find a market niche that is actually haven't been penetrated properly, and you go for it. So I think that's, from my humble experience, I look at what value we bring, and then we start pushing on that value, and then make sure that you're doing it better, and then you start getting to the next level, which is you're actually being identified as doing that different than anyone else.
Yep.
And automatically, with resilience and hard work, you get to the next level. There's no, and I always ask people that. That's why in purpose in life, the purpose of what you're doing it for money, or you're doing it for success, or you're doing it. There's no judgment. Everyone's got, he can do anything he wants. But if we're talking about innovation in business, business means someone is willing to pay for it. And then if that money that you're going to get paid, is it profitable or not? I mean, is it better if you work in a corporate? If you're going to make more money, okay, my advice usually say, if you're going to work in a corporate and you're going to make more money, mate, you're an entrepreneur. Don't think about an entrepreneur as wearing, a blue shirt and some jeans. And if this is something that makes you happy, again, I'm not judging, but if you're asking my opinion, there have to be a commercial outcome that aligns with because if you're going to get the purpose and the commercial outcome you need, you're going to keep going on it.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I think it's very philosophical, Daniel, but it's all about, I believe it's what value you bring to the table, and what people are willing, and other clients or whatever are willing, and can you deliver it or not? And if you're going to deliver it, and it's pure business 101, you pay your suppliers on time, your clients are happy, you have a service.
Be a good person.
Of course, on top of that,
Yeah.
kind and all of, we can go, and then you have a team, you are enabling them to perform the best performance they can. So they're inspired, all these elements comes in, and automatically the business is great. Whatever the size it is. There's great businesses that is in a corner of a cafe we're just discussing that, doing fantastic products.
So say, I'm going to lift the hood a little bit, right, on my own business. SynergyIQ, I've co-founded and run the business with my business partner, Michelle. We believe that people in business should feel valued, they should feel safe, they should feel inspired and fulfilled. At the core, fundamentally, you should go to work and you should go home to your family safe and fulfilled, right? Like that's at the core of everything that we believe. So what we've done is we've gone, well, what does that look like? We believe that we have the skill set in order to help organizations through their change programs. Because if change is done poorly, then people feel disengaged. They will leave their jobs, they will complain, they'll go home, and it'll create stress, and companies will spend more money, and like all these negative effects that happen from poor change, change done poorly within organizations. Culture, engagement, drops through the floor. So we think, well, hang on, if we want people to feel that value and feel inspired, feel safe, and go home to their families every single night, then we could do something around that change and help them see and reframe the way in which they deliver that. So that's kind of what we've we've embarked on. And, so you talk about purpose, we're there. Like that is kind of our core. We believe that we've stumbled upon on our research something that is game changing in the way in which we think. We've built a systems thinking approach to this, and we're very excited about what it is and how and the positive benefits, and people are willing to pay for it, and it ticks all the boxes. And it now comes to, when I now come to the world of innovation, and I go, at the moment it's a service. Yeah. So we're at this sort of inflection point in our business where we go, how do we scale this? How do we grow this? How do we innovate with the lack of cash? Because it always keeps coming back to that. And so for those who are going through the similar story that we're going through, what's your advice?
We grow with funding. Companies grow with funding, but it's, again, how big you want to go and what stage you want to do that.
Yeah. So if I give you my example.
Yes.
Like if you would ask me my BHAG, so my big, hairy, audacious
So first
goal,
of all, you're profitable.
We are.
Your profit is aligned with the industry best practice in your industry?
It hasn't been on the back of the amount of investment we've been putting into the business. So it's all our own cash. So whatever we earn, we put back in, we research. And so it's been 2 years of research that we've been putting into.
Yeah.
So, but regardless of all that, we are in a strong position.
That's brilliant. Market share growing?
Yes.
Clients happy?
Yes.
You're getting more business from the same clients?
Yes.
Mate, you're freaking on top of the world, mate.
But my BHAG, so do you know what that is? Big, hairy, audacious goal. It's Collins' good to great model.
Yeah.
Is I believe that our methodology can be in the top 500 businesses of the world. Right? So I'm trying to open and remove that boundary. And I believe that if we are in the top 500 businesses of the world, then can you imagine the ripple effect? We talk about the value, safe, the inspired and fulfilled, the value that then has on the community that surrounds.
Yes.
And the people and the workplace and everything. So, but with that means we have to come back to your point of building maturity within an organization. We have to almost educate. And so this is where I start going, what does that look like? And where do we go? And is it tech? Is it more service? Is it like, so you're in that innovation sort of bubble of going, oh, it could go so many ways. How do you decide what's best?
Can I ask you a few questions as well?
Yeah.
So how's your internal process, your business process?
We're fixing that.
So is it automated on systems?
No, not yet.
Okay, so one of the things that the researchers they've done on the Fortune 500, since you mentioned the 500, they were trying at Harvard to find what's common between them.
Yep.
I think they found, if I can remember correctly, around 5 common factors. Mm-hmm. 4 of them were digital, which tells you something, that there are factors, but there is no way you can be one of the top 500 companies in the world if you don't have digital maturity in your process.
Yeah.
And you will be surprised every time we meet someone or we get in depth in business that are still in its early stage. And then you witness those ones going to the next level. You would remember when it was in an early stage, their process was second to none. To an extent that you remembered it because you were like, they're too small. Why are they doing it that way? So I would say that would be my first, it wouldn't be an option. It would be aggressively the first thing I would work on.
Fix your processes and systems.
And make sure it's operating as best in class, which is something I believe there is no way you can go to the scale. The second one would be...
How does that unlock? I get it, but for those who are listening in, how does that unlock scale?
Because process innovation is about streamlined business. So the one-on-one business, which is, if you would be surprised, I'm sure you're through that, would take 60-70% of your energy to do the things that you shouldn't be spending time on. It's because of the immaturity of your process, of your business process, which is the business as usual.
So it's holding you back.
Absolutely. And your innovative part that you're you're offering different outcomes to different people, to different clients.
Yeah.
If you don't have that baseline properly operational in a harmonious and and best in class, how are you going to go to the next level? Straightforward. I mean, every progress or every increase, every time you uplift the business, it means more problems, which is against scale.
Yeah.
Because
you just spend time fixing all the time,
absolutely,
as opposed to scaling.
As opposed to scaling.
Yeah.
And then instead of having challenges of how can I scale to the next level, that's the maximum I have now, and how can I go exponential? You're actually struggling just to deliver on those increments that you created, and of course that trickles down to your team, because again, that's implicit, but it impacts everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that but I once asked a dear friend of mine. They have one of the oldest food chains that I've ever heard about, and they're one of the top. I mean, literally, and they're not educated or went to Harvard or anything.
Yep.
And he told me something in a slang language that I actually use every day. He said, and I said, how do you come up with this great, food? I mean, it's crazy. He said, preparing is more important than cooking.
Yeah.
That's what he learned from his dad. To get ready to cook is more important than doing the dish itself. Mm. So everything in their business evolves around. So you go there, they have so much automated systems that you look at it's like a lab. You know what I'm saying?
It just flies in the face of everything that history tells us. I mean, Sun Tzu, his famous saying is that the war is won in the mind.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So which is the strategy of the Abraham Lincoln. If you gave me 8 hours to cut down a tree, I'd spend 6 hours sharpening the saw.
Sharpening the saw.
It always keeps coming back to this planning thing. We say the same thing with our change program, is that, most businesses, they go from this ideation into straight execution, and there's like, hang on, you haven't even set this thing up for success. So we use the same thought process for modeling, but I hadn't thought about it.
I would aggressively go through the process as if it's a life-threatening situation.
Yeah,
I would say that would be the foundation of scale.
Then how do you scale beyond that? So say you've got that in place. What's the next steps?
So once you have that in place, it means you can do more with less headache, and automatically you will find what business you're actually in, not when all these distractions goes away. And I think that's where the evolution of any great business in the world happens.
What do you mean by that? You'll find what business you're actually
You will be surprised that 90% of us doing business don't know what business we're in. We go through the process and the day-to-day, and I'm not dismissing myself. It happens sometimes, but you have to know where the value, because you want to scale, you have to choose a slice that you're really good at. Like that's my, that's my firepower.
Yeah.
That's where I hit. No one else can, I'm going to run, no one will catch me. And that happens by maturity and evolution, and by shutting down all the noise around you. It's an act of inspiration, to look at, oh my God, this is actually what we're doing. Mm. And this is what people would be willing to invest and work with us to do it. And again, I would say that would be when you will know, this is when I'm going to scale. That's the part I'm going to go to the next level. And all of the great value businesses in the world, you look at them, you would know where they were really good at something, and then they discovered it and moved to the next level.
You mentioned earlier that you were a poor leader in your early days, and you felt like you needed to do it all.
Yeah.
And now, what's your thoughts? Is it about, so as part of that scale, about as a CEO hiring the right people?
I don't believe. Okay, I'll go back one step. I believe that great business is created by great people.
Yeah.
Straightforward. And it's not a cliche or 1 + 1. The only way 1 + 1 = 10 is human. Mm-hmm. Nothing else can do that.
Yeah.
Machines got capacity. You know that a machine will produce 100 in an hour.
Yep.
It would never produce 300. But putting 1 + 1 in an environment of inspiration and innovation, as humans, they would do 100 out of that.
Yeah.
Leadership, I would say our baseline, our role as leaders is to get greatness out of people. To know what people are great, even if they're not aligned with the business objectives.
Yeah. To find their unique ability almost, isn't it?
Even if it's not aligned with what you're doing. And unfortunately, I think that's one of the traps we fall in as leaders, because we're responsible for businesses and you want to make it work. So you try to make, so you might, the biggest example, you can't get a fish to climb a tree.
Yeah.
So our job is to make the fish swim, monkeys climb, horses run.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not categorizing, but every one of us got a sweet spot. The other one is, when you do that, you have to hire people, not hire. I'm sorry, I hate that word. You have to get team members to join the business or join the journey that are better than you in the area that they're really good at, and without pride, with no ego or anything. What gives me goosebumps is when my team is 10 times smarter than me. Because that's when you can scale. No, seriously, I am serious.
No, but
100%
in their chosen field, right?
In their chosen fields, and in anything that they combine. Because combined, as if you end up, it's like an orchestra. You're leading it, and you get everyone's to be heard, every instrument to be heard, and the loud ones you have to. You know what? Just go down a bit, man.
Yeah. Oh, I was saying it tongue in cheek, obviously, because you got 4 degrees, right? So
no majors. No.
4 majors.
I know. But anyway, I think that's mainly, and that's what I learned, and that's what inspires me. To be honest, I mean, you can be successful on your own. I feel more fulfilled when greatness happen with a team, because that changes people's lives as well, positively, and inspires them. Which is, I think that's the best outcome you can get as a human.
Absolutely. So if you're in startup, scale up, you're in let's go scale up mode now.
Yep.
And your role as CEO, what are you, our Jawhari, focusing on more day to day than anything else?
Enabling. So first of all, I want to make sure my leadership team can do their jobs that they're really good at. So first of all, of course, you choose what they're good at.
Yep.
By discussions, and then they trust you when you're not doing it in a way, like, no, you actually mean it.
Yep.
If you're not good at this, don't worry about it. Don't do it.
Yep.
Enabling them, giving them the right tools, because enablement is another trap we fall in as leaders. Oh, you're responsible. No, you have to make sure that he's got all the tools, because you're the experienced one.
100%. It's about creating the right conditions.
Absolutely. And now the third one, and failures is your problem as a leader. It's your mistake, not their mistake, at any given point in time, which means that it happens. So it's not something and they will never become great leaders unless they learn from their mistakes, which is the same thing like my dad raised me. I'm sorry to say it that way. I'm not raising anyone. No. I mean,
No.
I'm just someone trying to do something.
So if someone does make a mistake, a failure, what's your approach?
I ask if he needs help.
He or she.
I'm sorry, he or she.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. I'm asked if he or she. That will put this as a note, because we need. This is a transformation we need to have. That needs to happen in engineering and manufacturing industries. Yeah. We need more diversity in that. Yeah, but that's the fact.
You're looking at your leadership team.
Yeah, we're creating that, but there's not a lot, unfortunately, as you know. But anyway, going back to that, so I would ask him if he needs help. Number 2, I want to make sure that mentally, as a human being, he understands it's business. It's nothing else. I mean, bad things happen. That's normal in life.
Yeah.
And then I would never expose him to I would never expose his mistakes. It would be extremely personal conversation between me and him, asking for help. Do you need? And then once he goes out of that, because when you do something like that and it's acknowledged, it's a very bad space that you come in. So I want to make sure he gets through it as a leader, recovers, and then we start talking about root cause analysis and trying to mitigate if we can solve that problem for good. And one of the things I've learned is it always has to be personal, no exposures, because once it goes to the next level, automatically the recovery becomes more difficult. And seriously, we just go through it. That's it. I mean, as if it never happened.
What happens if it does happen again?
We would have the same discussion, but on what we found and why, and that needed to be implemented. So we find the root cause analysis. We do the root cause analysis, and then we change the system or the process, try to capture, and then I would go deeper, which I never do unless we're solving a problem.
Yeah.
I'm always on the surface, because you shouldn't go deeper. That's everyone's, sweet spot. I would go deeper and go through the system to make sure that we understood each other properly, or there's something that we need some external support for it. We might not be the ones that this problem is bigger than both of us.
Yeah.
It usually never happens 3 times.
You don't let it get to 3 times.
Because there is another responsibility from the leader. You're not just responsible for one person. You're responsible for the whole enterprise.
Correct.
You're responsible for delivering to clients that trusted you in those deliveries. So all of the mistakes that happens, as long as it's internally contained, that is not affecting someone that paid for a service, you, as a leader, now there's 2 sides of it. Your responsibility is to deliver as well. So it wouldn't go to the next level. I mean, personally, yeah.
How do you create a culture of high performance in that instance then? Because I think that this is what we're talking about, right? This is about, I love what you're saying in the fact that you never throw them under the bus if someone is a failure but in the same token, what you're saying is it doesn't get to 3.
Yeah.
Therefore, my expectation is high performance. And so how do you foster that culture of high performance?
It goes back to square one, which is high performance is related that you are actually doing the thing that you're good at. And you can perform and then you can push them in a good way, enable them, excite them to do the best they can. And and I know you know that it's visual, because once you get your team to be doing what they're really good at, performance becomes high performance and extreme performance. But again, on top of that, and I'm being, straightforward here, I always say that at any meeting, guys, this is business. It is not personal. What we're trying to do together is to deliver basic 101 services or products or whatever. Don't over-exert as a human being on crossing that line, that you become obsessed with what you faced, and I do that with because I find them in that loop of, and I'm like, mate, go out, spend time with your friends or family, just go for a walk, because I do the same. I'm not saying 100%, maybe 80%, but it's not more than 20% obsession, which we normally as humans get sometimes dragged to. But high performance, I would relate that your team, he and she and he would be doing what they're really, and then you start training them or qualifying them, helping them to move to the next level. It is a tackle industry. From a leadership.
Yeah, without doubt. Now we've almost gone 2 hours here. And I don't reckon I've even gone way through my questions. We've gone down more rabbit holes than you can speak of. I do want to ask one question, or a couple of questions before we go into some quick fire questions. If you don't mind. And I don't know how long they might take, but I just was interested to hear about your thoughts on artificial intelligence and the future that it plays within businesses. Is it something that you're using a lot in the advanced manufacturing world, and are you genuinely excited about its potential?
It is, from my perspective, it is my biggest. It is the next big thing that I'm investing in.
Yeah. So do you find ourselves at the same inflection point that you found yourself when you were building software code back in the day?
Absolutely.
Are we in the same?
Absolutely. We're on that tectonic shift because manufacturing was back for, they're like 30 years delayed from the digital world innovations. So we're in that space right now.
Yeah.
And I was discussing that with a few friends a couple of days ago. And I said, we usually have product design as a pyramid structure. You would all have one or two great product designers, and the rest of the pyramid is built around how to do that product. I said, I want you to imagine the opposite, that you're going to have all these product designers and innovators, and everything else is done through AI and robotics. Imagine the innovations that will happen across that. From kids that are 10, 12 years old that will be building crazy stuff with no limits, because there is no limits. You don't need to build a 1,000 people company to build one product behind it.
Correct.
Yeah. So absolutely, mate. It's now, of course, there's always the good and the bad, I know, but I try to keep it positive, from my end, just for the energy perspective. We as humans, we do both, unfortunately, and it's the essence of humans, and so talking about the positive side of it.
So your point earlier where you said 1 + 1 = 10 when it comes to humans, but 1 + 1 = 2 when it comes to a robot.
No, I didn't say that.
Didn't you?
No, I didn't say about robots. I said 1 + 1, I spoke about machines. But machines with intelligence
is a different thing.
It's a different thing.
Okay.
So 1 can equal to 100 with that. So one human and intelligent machines would be, he can go to whatever.
So it's about the human and the machine in this instance.
Absolutely. And the interface between them.
Yeah.
Because AI can help us through, where we're limited by our memory and transformation as well.
Yeah.
AI can do that for us. Changing a model with going through all the computational analysis of it and all of that through an AI algorithm. Man, it would take 5 minutes what we used to do in a year.
2 million code that you said.
Yeah, I'm serious. That would be, if you come up with that. So imagine the human brain because we struggled from an innovation standpoint. We struggled because you want to do something that is innovative, but you're limited with how you can get there. Now, imagine that how you're going to get there is already done. So your mind will work on the next level and the next, I think it's a sort of, it's a bit beyond our understanding, because like everything that disrupted the world.
Yep.
But yeah, that would be my 2 cents in that.
How are you planning on using it within
Starke? So we officially opened our Center of Excellence for Additive Manufacturing, which involves a lot of automation and state-of-the-art printing of metal powder.
Yep.
Starting with powder, and we have we're an SME, so we don't have deep pockets.
Yep.
But what we were able to do with help of universities and state and the federal government is create another operating system inside our organization that is working on advanced manufacturing, additive manufacturing, AI design without being interrupted. So I have a team that I personally push the noise away from them, so they're only focused. And what's going to happen is we're going to start merging the existing operating system. I'm sorry to say OS, but it's like OS 1 and OS 2, and we're upgrading. So you have a new operating system, and then you're trying to move the modules into the new one. Then the other one is fully, there's no interruptions. They're purely doing it to understand, adopt, mature, and we will start our first commercial delivery, I believe, within a couple of months on that model, which is,
What's the outlook for Starke? Where's that?
So we moved into high value precision. We found that what we're really good at is actually doing the things that are difficult, because we have an outstanding team. Outstanding team. They understand. What we're doing is we will be one of the top service providers for advanced manufacturing in high value, complex precision work for companies and innovators and startups and scale ups, which is one of my dreams. That someone has a model a product that he wants to deliver, I can prototype him that product instead of spending 16 to 24 months, that's the normal time frame before. I can do it. I can make him deliver it in 4 to 6 weeks in-house in Adelaide.
Yeah, wow.
So that would be, yeah.
That's phenomenal. That's exciting.
Yeah, I know it is. It's pretty.
What does that mean for the world? Is this part of your push of Adelaide becoming that innovator? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Because you need to be able to prototype. I'm talking engineering now. Look, mate, manufacturing. I look at manufacturing as a form of art, not because it's a machine. It's a creation that a human created. We turn it into an object, right? So it is a form of art. It's not just because you're not drawing or painting or sculpturing. It is a form of art.
It is.
But using engineering practice. So for an innovator or an entrepreneur in school or whatever that he believes this product, he needs to develop a product and build it. To be able to do it, that's the first step to success. And we were not able to do that before. I'm talking about building a computer or whatever. That would have been, we have to go. It's a very now that's where we're looking at achieving. I mean, being able to prototype and optimize manufacturing. So any entrepreneur or a company with a good product or a great product would be able to do that in 4 to 6 weeks in-house, and then modify and then manufacture and then going up and scaling. I believe that would be the success we would be looking for. Beside, of course, supporting 50% of our work we do for defense, and we deliver very complex systems with them as well successfully. So again, supporting our defense industry in Australia, becoming stronger, not from a harms, but for defending this great nation. I mean, this is something we all passionately do that, not just because it's business.
That's how it comes back to safety, right?
Yeah.
Being sovereign country is something that we should all
100%
be on board with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. I'm going to jump in actually, no, I'm going to ask you one more question before I jump into quick fire questions. What do you want your legacy to be?
Legacy. Wow. Man, I haven't.
You haven't even thought about that?
I'll just.
So when people look back on the story of our Jawhari, what are they saying?
Mate, I hope I helped someone to find his sweet spot. That's seriously what I without even acknowledging that. I would be fulfilled if I did a small part in someone, he or she, that he was struggling and then he found his sweet spot because I was helping out and trying to get him to his sweet spot. Because I believe I'm extremely privileged and lucky to find my sweet spot in an early stage, and I owe that to my dad and my parents.
Yeah.
And I would that 100% that would be something I would love.
Essentially giving back
in that direction.
I love it. Beautiful. All right, so we're going to jump into some quick fire questions before we round off the podcast. We're big readers. I'm a big reader here, and I'm always talking about different types of books. What's one book that you've recommended more often than not?
Look, I read. Unfortunately, I don't read fiction.
Yeah.
I only read technical books and bios.
Yeah.
I love bios.
Biography.
I learned a lot of things in life through bios.
Yeah.
And one of the best authors that I love is Walter Isaacson.
Oh yeah, I've got literally every one of his books.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I would give, presents or even my kids, or ask them to read different bios based on the situation that I feel that would give them. But my top, so we're talking about, but my top one is, of course, Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, yeah.
100%.
Have you read the Leonardo da Vinci one?
I was just going to say, so Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein.
Yeah, he's done Einstein, Musk.
Elon Musk. I'm not judging, but it was a different mindset.
Yeah.
But I love Nelson Mandela.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I have bookmarks in certain times that I just go and read them, and the amount of resilience this human had is beyond. So I always remind myself but I would definitely give Leonardo or Steve Jobs or Einstein. Yeah.
What's one lesson that's taking you the longest to learn?
You're gonna laugh about that. The longest to learn? Patience.
Yeah.
Definitely patience.
100%. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
What's some of the best advice you've ever received?
That was my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The earlier advice of
putting all the effort and let the universe works its way. And
energy.
The other one was always that was from my father-in-law. He didn't say it, but he was doing it. He always chose. I'm not saying that my dad didn't, but it was in a different situation that I witnessed. He always chose kindness over rightness, naturally.
I like that.
Yeah. So there's a situation, there's the right and the wrong, and there's the kind choice, even if it was the wrong choice. But he always chose the kind choice. So, yeah.
Situation specific, right? Though, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
conflicts and
yeah,
stuff like that,
yeah.
that you always say, oh, but that was wrong,
Yeah.
that was right, you know?
Yeah, 100%. How has a failure or an apparent failure set you up for success?
That was the one we discussed before. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the key thing? Just
Ego.
yeah.
Yeah. And not listening. Yeah.
What's a skill or talent that you wish you had but you don't?
Playing guitar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Angie, there's going to be a couple of
It is, you have
guitars
to
coming
practice,
in.
especially if you're, over 50.
Yeah.
I have to do it every day.
Creating music, I think. Yeah.
I would love to just have a guitar and sit on the farm on a fire. And I don't have a good. I'm not a singer, but I would sing by myself.
Yeah.
I would say that was musicians turning that. I love music. I love music, man. It inspires me.
Yeah. I'm with you.
And just on the side, I have an album usually for every exit. I had an inspirational album that I was listening to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's one of those albums?
So I had Adele and I had Pink in my last two exits. Yeah. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Well, if you could swap your life with anyone for one day, who would it be?
So what does that mean?
If you could trade places, you could be Donald Trump for a day, or you could be someone else for a day. Who would it be?
I'm not judging. So
No, I just said Donald Trump because that would be a wild ride, wouldn't it?
Look, one of the biggest, and I'm not trying to to change the world or anything, but we're very lucky in Australia. I mean, we have a beautiful country, and we're well off as a nation, and we can't have homeless people. And I would spend a day living. I can feel, but I think if you go through that experience, which I didn't, you would be ahead of that. Yeah.
Why does that make you emotional?
Because I believe we are privileged and lucky with no choice. So we could have been born in different situations. And as humans, we have to understand that there are humans that are not privileged, that our job is to give them a lending hand, whatever we can do. It breaks my heart to find homeless people in Australia. It breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart even more when I hear comments about that they're lazy or addicts and it is. So I would definitely just for my, just to go through that feel, maybe I would find something that I would come out of it and have enough influence to tell people, mate, this happens to anyone. Any one of us could go through it with bad luck or a bad situation.
I've never heard anyone answer that question like that before, where you're coming from the perspective of those less fortunate.
Absolutely.
That's very, very humble of you, Al. That's amazing. If you could have a gigantic billboard where you could write anything you wanted on it.
Look, I have 4 words that I fortunately just created for me. So I would love to share that, but in a humble way. I would write gratefulness, empathy, kindness, and grit.
Yeah. So they're the 4 values you live.
That's how I start my day. I start with gratefulness that for everything I have. And the second one, I would put myself in other people's shoes so I don't get angry about anyone. You don't know what they faced or what we all go through that. So there's always 2 sides of every story. And as humans, we have to have empathy, to have to understand the other side of the story, put yourself in their shoes as much as you can. And then do that with kindness, not with ego, that, I have empathy or I'm grateful. And on top of that, you have to have grit as a human to live and keep going. And you have to keep pushing as long as you can. So I would definitely ask people to do that till it becomes a habit.
Beautiful. If you were to start a podcast, your own podcast, what would it be about?
Would you help me with it?
Oh, absolutely.
I am serious.
I reckon we could have another 6 conversations and we wouldn't even be halfway through. Yeah. What would it be?
Hobbies.
Hobbies?
Yeah.
Like extreme sports?
Whatever.
Yeah.
We give tips from people that learn it.
Done.
That would make people's life, that will make people get more into it.
Done.
Yeah.
Watch this space. Podcast is coming.
I would
your way.
definitely, that would be, yeah.
Is this another potential extreme sport that you could go down?
No, I would definitely, because every time I learn something that is very difficult, I find that the key was a couple of things that no one told me about.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, if someone told me that on day one, it would make my life easier.
I think it's impossible that you could start a podcast.
If you can help me, I'll definitely. Yeah.
I'm using your. That's
Yeah.
your, that's that's your kryptonite.
It didn't sink in, so it was good. Yeah.
I'm using your kryptonite against you. I think I'd be excited to see you start one, mate. It'd be amazing. If you could become famous for one thing, what would it be?
Wow. Well, you mean someone? Yeah.
Singer?
No. No. Mate, smiling?
Smiling?
Maybe.
A famous smiler.
No, like that people would know me as, I smile when I see them or something. I would love to do that. Yeah.
The guy that always had a smile on his face.
Yeah.
What would be the first thing you would do if you became invisible?
You mean like Invisible Man?
Like Invisible Man.
All right. So I'll tell you something.
Oh, here we go.
I'm not going to answer that. No, I'm not going to answer that because I'm just going to say something. I found Invisible Man freaky for me.
Yeah, I was petrified.
I would never think about intruding or coming in when people doesn't know I'm in. So I would be an invisible, but I would say I'm invisible to make fun.
Yeah.
So I would go to the business and tell people, hey, I'm invisible, and I start freaking them out in jokes. But no, it's something that I don't look forward to do.
Okay. I see you.
Maybe, yeah.
I used to freak out at Invisible Man when I was a kid too.
Yeah.
If you could, now that I think about that, I'm not going to get rid of that question. If you could have any superhero power, what would it be?
Like what?
Like anything, like
just one power or a couple?
Yeah, like
because you need to know. You need a few. Not just one.
You reckon?
I think you need a few.
Well, I mean, like Wolverine can heal very quickly,
but he's got healing powers as well.
Yeah, well, that is his healing. His power.
Yeah, so his healing.
His power is his healing.
I would. Is there a look? I'm bushfires.
Bushfires.
We
not start them.
Of course not starting. Our farm we got hit by the bushfires at Cuddly Creek 2019, and it was an interesting. It was life changing positively, but. I would be Hydro Man because
Aquaman, isn't it?
I think I'm not sure. I think it was a kid. There was a comics called Hydro Man. He's the one that had
create water,
high powered water. He did a lot of stuff with it. I would definitely, but you see that. But I would need to be Superman to get to the fire quickly as well. So you need. Can I have two?
Yeah, you can. Have
all right.
I'll let only this time.
All right. Thank you.
Last question. What's your best dad joke? I told you to prepare a dad joke.
Yes, you told me that. I do that with my kids and they hate it.
Yeah.
Why would two skeletons not get in a fight?
Why would two skeletons not get into a fight?
Yeah.
Why? I don't know.
They don't have guts.
That's horrible. I love it. Brilliant. Look, thank you so much, Al.
Thanks, mate.
For coming on the show today. You are an inspiration. Everything that you've achieved in life, your way, your process, your thought process, your mindset, all that you're doing for the community, all that you're doing for business and mentors and startups and everything, not to mention, your wife Angie and her role in you as a family and all you guys are achieving as a family is amazing. And I'm going to continue watching from the bleachers and really, really excited to have gotten to know you over the past couple of months, especially since going on this podcast journey. So thank you for everything that you're doing, and thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for this inspiring, mate. Seriously, I listen to your podcasts. I learn a lot, and some of them I actually listen to them as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Great setup, mate. And on your business side, mate, I know you're gonna go to greatness. 100%. I have zero doubt on that.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all from us. Catch you next time. Thanks for listening to the podcast all. You can check out the show notes if there was anything of interest to you and find out more about us at SynergyIQ.com.au. I am going to ask though, if you did like the podcast, it would absolutely mean the world to me if you could subscribe, rate and review. And if you didn't like it, that's all right too. There's no need to do anything. Take care, guys. All the best.